Hello to whoever is watching this. Welcome back to another ceramics video. This one's going to be pretty interesting because I'm making a big jar, or a big vase, depending on how you want to look at it, with two sections that are combined, which is something new. We're of course going to start with the wedging process. This is a spiral wedge. I'm just folding the clay in on top of itself to push all the air bubbles out. I continue doing this for about 5 minutes because if there are any air bubbles, especially in a big project like this, you wasted so much time, so it's not even worth taking any risks. Once I finish the spiral wedge, I'm going to cut the piece into two, and as you can see, the piece is really smooth. And I'm going to take each piece and then ram's head wedge it, which is just another wedging technique to make sure it's nice and smooth and there are no air bubbles. Alright, once I have both the pieces wedged up, I can take the clay and throw it down on the bat, make sure it's nice and compressed using my finger, and then I can start throwing it. The very first step in this is called the coning process. All I'm doing is squeezing the clay into the center of the bat, because the more center it is and the less wobble, the better. I'm going to cone it up and down anywhere from 5 to 10 times, depending on what I'm working on, but I'm just speeding it up here so you don't have to sit through all of it. Once it's done being coned up enough times, I'm going to push it into this thick puck shape. If it's going to be a wider bowl, then you want that puck to be thinner and have a larger diameter. And if it's going to be a tall, narrow shape, you want it to be like a tall cylinder. Anyways, once you have that puck shape, all I'm going to do is use the sponge to push into the center of the clay, thus opening it and getting ready for the pulling. With the pulling stage, all I'm doing is taking the sponge and my left hand and pushing, or just pushing my left and right hand together and pulling up on the clay. I'm going to do this a few times, and each pull should increase the height of the pot. In this stage, you do want to be careful not to do it for too long. In this case, I did do it for a pretty long time, but that was because this was my first larger two-section project, so just lack of experience. But the less amount of pulls that you can do, the better, because as you pull more and more, you're adding more water into the clay, and when the clay gets too wet, it doesn't hold its shape very well, and it can tip and fall and just collapse in on top of itself. But I'm just going to keep pulling it, and I'll let you watch for the meantime. Alright, just a quick thing to mention. When you pull up, you can also just pull outwards as well, as you saw before. So you don't just have to pull up and then stretch it, like I'm doing with this wood thing. You can do the pulling in the shape that you want. It's just good to do it slowly, no drastic movements or you're going to mess things up. But once I have it pulled out into this kind of this lower section shape, I was good to use that metal and rubber kidney. I'll use this caliper to measure the diameter. This is really important to get right because you're going to be throwing the second half based off of the measurement of the first one. Yeah, like you saw right there, I'm just gonna start on the next one, speed it up. You already know what's going on, so I'm just gonna let you watch. Alright, now that I have both pieces trimmed to the right diameter, I'm going to cut off the bottom skirt right there, take the piece, and prep both sides for merging. What I'm doing is I have this rough metal kidney, and I'm scraping these little slots into both of the pieces. And what this does is it just allows more room for me to take this mud, which is called slip, and grab onto those scratches that I make. Once there's enough slip, I'm able to just take the two pieces, put them on top of each other, and slowly start squeezing the clay of both pieces together. Once I do that, and it's firm enough for me, I can start making an incision on the top, and then I'm going to use this wire tool to finish off and slice the opening for the vase. Now that I'm able to get my left hand in through the top, I'm able to really squeeze both sides of the clay into each other. This really just strengthens that bond, and then as the slip dries, it fastens those clay pieces together. Once that's done, I'm able to cut the top, just make it nice and level, and I'm going to start throwing the piece now like I did. The reason you'd want to do it in two sections is throwing a really large piece, the centering process is really hard and it's really tiring to center that much clay, so you'll do it in two sections and then combine them. Another thing is, towards the bottom, if you throw something large enough, it will buckle and it will not be able to hold the weight of the piece. So you're able to make that bottom piece, let it dry. Not quite to leather hard, but almost. But let it dry, it gets stronger, and then you're able to add the weight of the second half. So that's why you would actually want to make this in two pieces in the first place. This piece you could probably throw with just one piece of clay, but I was just learning the principle of throwing one piece using two sections. And you can use one section, two section, three sections, all the way to four. But now that I have them merged well, I'm able to use the red rubber kidney and this metal kidney that you see to smoothen the outside. And it's not perfectly centered, but I think this was my second or third attempt at making this. But I think it went out, or I think it worked out pretty well. Other than that, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. If you did learn something and you like it, feel free to subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It shows that I am actually providing something to someone else, so that's helpful. Other than that, have a good rest of your day. Bye.